Assets, money and tax in Italy. UK expats in Italy are subject to tax on their worldwide income, much like UK residents are subject to UK tax. However, there are certain rules and regulations to be aware of in Italy that are either not the same as in the UK, or are totally different to what goes on in the UK. Plus, there's one aspect of finance concerning Brexit that's nothing more than scaremongering, but which you can profit from. To find out more, watch this video to the very end. In the meantime, to ensure your finances work as tax efficiently as possible to enjoy La Dolce Vita, would you like access to an ongoing collection of news, reports, resources and courses on working and living in Italy? It's so easy to access. Just take a quick moment to subscribe, and click the bell icon so you'll never miss out on these updates again. There are three aspects of assets, money and tax to consider. 1. Firstly, to ensure you don't pay tax on the same income in both countries, Italy has a double taxation agreement with the UK. However, to ensure you get the benefit of this, you should arrange to have your tax affairs in both countries dealt with by a qualified accountant in the UK, and a tax advisor or business consultant, commercialista, in Italy. In the UK, there's guidance from HMRC on the following subjects. 1. If you leave the UK to live abroad, and 2. The tax on your UK income if you live abroad, and 3. Paying income tax in Italy. Links to these guides are shown below this video. One thing to always bear in mind is that tax rules change, sometimes for better, but mostly for worse. It's usually always worth appointing a professional to look after and administer your tax affairs, for three essential reasons. 1. At the time you become resident for tax reasons in Italy, you'll still need to complete a final UK tax return, as well as completing and submitting your first Italian tax return. The UK tax year ends on the 5th of April, whilst the Italian tax year ends on the 31st of December, so straight away, there's an overlap that complicates your tax affairs further. To ensure you have a clean break from the UK, and get off to a good start with the Italian tax authorities, both of your tax advisors will likely need to liaise with one another. 2. Your sanity. You do not want the stress of dealing with your tax affairs. The idea of saving professional fees whilst spending hours completing and submitting your tax returns in the hope that you've declared everything is a very risky strategy to take. Any such savings can easily be wiped out by mistakes being found at any time in the future, and you then being fined penalties, plus being charged ridiculous amounts of interest, and 3. On a more upbeat note, sometimes idiosyncrasies between the two tax regimes in the UK and Italy arise, that could be legally exploited to reduce your overall tax liabilities. You won't necessarily be aware of these unless you use the services of a UK accountant or Italian commercialista. As an example, the Italian government introduced a new tax break in 2017 for wealthy expats, encouraging them to relocate to Italy, as well as encouraging wealthy Italian expats to return home. Such tax savings can more than offset your professional fees. 2. Secondly, to determine where your income originates from, you have to make a declaration of overseas assets. The obvious sources of income are from your employment and from your self-employed earnings. However, where you've assets such as bank accounts, property, shares and other financial instruments that generate interest, rents, pensions and dividends from anywhere around the world, not just from the UK and Italy, you have to file an annual declaration of overseas assets using the Quadro RW form, part of the annual Unicode tax form. You can get more information from a tax advisor or business consultant, commercialista, via the British Chamber of Commerce for Italy or Centro Assistenza Fiscale, Tax Assistance Centre, CAF. 3. Thirdly, in terms of your UK national insurance, it could well be worthwhile finding out if you can pay national insurance whilst living and resident in Italy, so as to protect your UK state pension and other benefits and allowances. Assets, money and tax after Brexit. Brexit will likely not change any existing double taxation arrangements for UK nationals living in Italy. However, there could be changes to the cost of using, for example, credit cards, or the transfer of money between the two countries, but be wary of claims that such financial transactions will become much more expensive if the UK does leave the EU. There's a lot of scaremongering going on in the UK by the various Remain groups and political parties to justify reasons for the UK to stay in the EU. However, such claims are without foundation, as there's one way in which bank charges, for example, can be greatly reduced irrespective of whether the UK leaves or stays in the EU. We use a brilliant service to substantially reduce bank transfer charges, details of which you'll find via the URL link in the description box below this video. One point to note regarding bank accounts in Italy is that for each one that you hold, you are charged an annual fee of about €35, which is liable to change, known as imposta da bollo. Another asset class to be aware of is property. In Italy, tax is charged on 1. Your rental income, if you rent out an Italian property, and 2. The value of that property. However, once you become resident in Italy, and if you continue to own property in the UK, the value of your UK property could be liable to be taxed in Italy, as well as any rental income you receive, so make sure you discuss this aspect of your financial affairs with your accountant and commercialista, preferably before you become resident in Italy, so you can plan your affairs and mitigate any possible tax liabilities. To keep up to date with changes in tax and matters affecting your finances and assets in Italy as well as in the UK, ensure you don't miss out on future videos by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and then hit the bell icon to be the first to be notified. Plus, don't forget to share these videos with friends, family, business colleagues and associates. Thanks for watching, and make it a great day. Until next time, ciao for now.